Okay, so here's the stuff that you're going to need for the power steering fluid change. You're going to need 2 quarts of Mercedes-Benz approved power steering fluid, and then you're going to need the filter that goes on the bottom of the reservoir. Again, stay away from the regular power steering fluid. You should only use Mercedes-Benz approved fluid. You really don't need any special tools for this job, and it is easy to have the front wheels off the ground so you can turn the wheel back and forth freely. You're going to do that so that you can bleed out any air in the system. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so here is the power steering reservoir, and the pumper is right below the reservoir. What we're going to do today is we're going to disconnect this low pressure return hose from the reservoir, and we're going to put this hose into a reservoir, and that's where all the used power steering fluid is going to come out of and into this waste reservoir. This is a low pressure hose, and you can tell that because it has a regular hose clamp. If you look at this hose here, it's all high pressure fittings. There are no hose clamps, so don't disconnect the high pressure ones. Okay, so we're going to take the top of the reservoir off, and that should expose the fluid, and we're going to get started. Okay, so here's the setup. I have the container right here on the right hand side. Okay, and let's get started. So I'm going to start by unscrewing the top of the reservoir and removing it. Okay, so here it is. Okay, and we're going to disconnect the return line, and I put some rags down here to catch any excess fluid that may come out of this line here. And it may take some doing to get this hose out. I can see it moving. Yeah, and just so here it is. The return hose is out, and just a little bit of fluid came out, not very much. So now we're going to extend this hose into the reservoir here, and we're going to put another hose on this fixed piece that goes into the reservoir, just to make sure as we are refilling it, it doesn't go overboard. Okay, so here is the setup that we have. So there's the reservoir right there, and the fluid is right on the mark, so we haven't been losing any fluid here, which is good news. Here is the catch reservoir right here, and what we've done is we've extended the return hose, as you can see right here. Okay, so here's the original return hose, and we put this fitting in here to extend it out here so it's easier to work with. And then we've attached this other piece of hose, almost like a roof vent system, to the return hose, or the return fitting that goes into the reservoir, just to make sure that as we add fluid to this guy here, it doesn't go out the return path. Alright, so we're going to get the car started, and we're going to start evacuating the system, and we're going to do that a couple times to flush out all the fluid in the system, and then we're going to add new fluid. Okay, so we're about ready to start the flushing of the system here. So it's a good idea to have an assistant to help you do this stuff, because somebody has to be on the engine bay here and another one inside the car to turn the wheel back and forth to flush out all the fluid in the system, such as in the gearbox and in the racks and that sort of thing. So go ahead, Steve, go ahead and start it up, and let's get started. Alright, so you can see the fluid coming out right here in the reservoir. And I'm looking at it, the reservoir is pretty much empty right now. So, okay, turn it back and forth, Steve. So now he's turning the steering wheel back and forth, and as you can see, more fluid coming out. Okay, there it is, more fluid again. Alright. Okay, Steve, that's good. Okay, so now we're going to refill the reservoir and do another flush. Go. Okay, so between the first and the second flush, we're going to actually remove the filter that's in the bottom of this reservoir right here. And as you can see, this is the indicator for the level. It's spring loaded, so if you press it down, there's a 10mm nut right over here, which I'm about ready to remove. Then this whole assembly comes out. But do be careful because it is spring loaded, so you don't want to let that spring come out. So here it comes. So here's the level indicator, and there's that spring right here. Okay, and the filter is right on the bottom, which I'm going to use this little pick to lift it out. And here is the old filter. Okay, it does have a little bit of fluid, so let it drain a little bit. And we're going to fill the reservoir with the first clean fluid and flush it again. Okay, so I'm going to add the new fluid so we can do the second flush. Okay, so there it is. And now we're going to start the car again and pump this new fluid through the system and out to the waste reservoir. Okay, so we're gonna start for the second flush, and instead of stopping and refilling, we're gonna do a real time, so my assistant can turn the wheel back and forth and really flush it out real good. So we're gonna have the engine on, and I'm gonna keep pouring fluid to keep the reservoir full at all times. Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Right, go ahead.
Okay, so we're ready to replenish the system here. Here's the new filter. We're going to start with that guy. Don't forget, I already connected the hose here, so don't make the mistake of not connecting the return hose, otherwise you're going to lose all the fluid. So the filter just slides right in there, like that. And then the spring goes in. And then the dipstick portion goes on top, and the 10mm nut goes in there. And you have to, okay, so there it is. You have to press down that little dipstick, plastic dipstick, and then you want to make sure that you bottom out that nut, which it is. So this is the right measurement for the reservoir. And now we're ready to refill it with fluid, and then we'll bleed the system by starting the engine and turning the steer wheel from rack to rack to bleed any air in the system. Okay, so we filled up the reservoir with fresh fluid, and Steve is going to start the car, and we're going to cycle the steering wheel back and forth a number of times to flush out any air. And we already added a little bit more fluid, so now it should be at the level that it normally is at. So go ahead, Steve. So go ahead and turn the wheel. So Steve is turning the wheel back and forth, and there's some bubbles still coming out of the system, so we're bleeding it out. But the level is right where it should be, which is good. So that's about it. There's no leaks down there. The fluid is nice and clean, and all we have to do is put the top back on, and the job is done.